Welcome to the Frontstretch Grid Walk here at Darlington Raceway. We are here for Throwback Weekend, and we're going to walk along, take a look at some of the cars, and let's start right at the back of the field. Timmy Hill's number 13, throwback to Ricky Craven's DuPont car. They've got the DuPont logo mock-up with Coble Enterprises. You can see this car coming a mile away, a straightaway away, as we can attest, and such an eye-popping scheme. And two DuPont throwbacks this weekend, both of which are fantastic. Let's keep on going up the grid.
Now, folks, if you've been following this sport for at least the last 15 years, you might recognize this one. This here is Josh Bolicki. He's number 44, but this weekend he's throwing it back to Bill Elliott in 2006 when he ran his car with the Burger King on there. Now, first off, I love this scheme, and the only reason why is because it's clever. You see that logo, their company this weekend, Insurance King, as their sponsor, but of course they can't put Burger King on there, so they put it as close to the original as possible, and that's why this weekend this is easily one of my top 5 favorites.
And up next we've got Tommy Joe Martins. I believe that's a throwback to himself. It looks good. It's great. But we're gonna skip ahead to one of my favorites on this grid, and that would be Stefan Parsons, throwback to his own father, Phil Parsons, who used to drive one of the Skull Bandits. And as you can see, Skull and Stefan's current sponsor, SoCal, they are only a few letters up. Well, it's the same letters, it's just a different order. So there you go. Skull, SoCal, the SoCal Bandit. Let's roll with that. That's one of my favorites.
Let's keep walking up the grid here, and if you didn't know by now, I'm Adam Cheek. That's Michael Massey. Dalton Hopkins behind the camera here as we continue our throwback walk. And some party poopers in the field, but that happens every year. Something we're used to. Mason Massey, no relation to Michael Massey. Now, one of my favorite things that throwbacks do, whether it's Steve Park's scheme in 2011, the old blue for Tommy Baldwin, whether it's other throwbacks to modifieds, or like Joey Logano's to one of his midget cars, is Patrick Emmerling's car does this perfectly. I love it whenever it incorporates modifieds. Of course, Emmerling, with a long history of modifieds, you got the rails, you got the exhaust pipes on the side, and the engine hub on the hood. I love the detail, I love the attention to it, and this one just looks absolutely perfect.
Next up, as we go on up the grid, you got Ryan Truex throwing back to Ty Gibbs last year, as you can see. Next on up the grill, David Starr. That's a throwback to a Bobby Dodder special. Let's keep on moving. Get a little pace here. We got some good ones up here. The next great one up here would be Ryan Vargas. He's got a Jeff Gordon 1999 Pepsi throwback, and as you see, they made it up so that Monarch looks big crowd out here, so very popular with the peoples. And you see a Carolina company. Pepsi's a Carolina company. There you go. Very good paint scheme. Got Gabe Wood there, getting the tires all straight. Me too. Roll up the grid. We can hand off to the.
Now, we're going to move a little bit forward here. We have John Hunter Nemechek driving the number 26, throwing it back to nothing. So we're going to keep moving on. And instead, we're actually going to focus more on these next two cars, which, once again, easily hits my top 5 of the field. This here is Jeremy Clements throwing it back to the old Wrangler days when Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd. So, I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. Any team that's willing to change the number font has got extra points in my book. Y'all agree with that?
We do.
Absolutely. All right.
And last but not least, in this segment of the field, one of my favorites, Buckshot Jones, throwback to his 00 Georgia Pacific car, very similar to his Cup car from the same time period. They've got Buckshot, the high-powered energy shot, sponsoring the Buckshot throwback. Absolutely perfect. They nailed the colors. Bobby Dodder Racing, Bobby Dodder's team, SS Greenlight Racing, probably one of the best overall teams throwback-wise this year. Part 2 of our throwback grid walk. We're here with JJ Yaley, who's got Bobby Hamilton's Country Time scheme on his car. How did this come about, man?
We actually went through several ideas, and then, obviously Bobby Hamilton was a staple in the sport for a very long time. That car was kind of the synonymous for him in his career. So for Work Pro Tools, we thought it was a great way to kind of bring it back. This is by far it may not be the coolest. I know that I think Jeremy Clements won Best in Show, but this is going to be the easiest car to find on a racetrack at all times.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No.
Thanks so much, JJ. And we got our second throwback of this part 2. What can you say? They nailed the number font. Ken Schrader's Red Baron car from Myatt Snyder. Jordan Anderson Racing just absolutely nailed this one. Can't wait to see this one race on track.
Yeah, and as a Richmond native, you love to see a Junie Dunleavy throwback. He was such a critical part of the sport for so many years. Junie Dunleavy, true legend. And then we could skip on ahead.
Second Virginia car here.
Yeah, we got another one. We got the Brandon Brown car here. What's the throwback? What's that the throwback to? His own late model car. And then as we go ahead, we got Brett Moffitt here. What's that one throwback to? Martin Jolly Rancher is what I'm hearing. Here you got Jeb Burton. He's throwing back to his grandfather's construction company, which a whole line of Burtons that all have the same name. Of course, Jeb Burton is short for, I think, John Edward Burton the third or fourth. But yeah, we can keep on going here. And, one of my favorite on the grid is the Anthony Alfredo Hills Brothers throwback. It was synonymous with Hutch Strickland, but this is a Tom Hubert throwback because Tom Hubert has played a critical role for Anthony Alfredo and this team. And yeah, I think it looks good. It's a pretty close match as far as I'm concerned.
Now we're going to move a little bit forward as we get closer and closer to the top 10. Now up next we have in this NASCAR Met Gala, we have as we navigate through this maze of people, which is okay. And here we have Landon Castle in the number 10, throwing it back to 1 week ago. And then we have Austin Hill in the number 21, Bennett Chevrolet. Now this is a sponsor-based throwback, going back to their original design of Bennett, of the Bennett company, and then going to the number 11 here with Daniel Hemrick, who is also throwing it back to just a couple weeks ago. And then we also have Sheldon Creed throwing it back to another sponsor-based throwback, in which I guess means they just invert the colors. And then Ryan Sieg and Riley Herbst obviously throwing it back to 1 week ago. The joke is old now. We get it. But now we get to the really good stuff here in this near the top 5. So right here we have Sam Mayer throwing it back to the original Skull Bandit days of Rick Mast. It is a Virginia, one of the best throwback schemes of the field, but in my opinion, maybe not the best. I don't know about these two. They might disagree with me.
That's the best.
But
It's close. It's very close.
But now we're going to move on to this next one with Brandon Jones.
Yeah, Brandon Jones, easily one of the more surprising throwbacks. This kind of got unveiled only a couple of days ahead of time, but it's to Paul Menard of his 2011 Brickyard 400 win, a win that kind of came out of nowhere. He outlasted Jeff Gordon to do so, and they brought back the swoosh. Of course, they already had the Menard sponsors. A lot of boos coming from the stands here, but I mean, it's Paul Menard. What can you say? Leaving NASCAR a couple years ago left a huge void, and that will never, ever be replaced. Moving on down pit road now, as we simultaneously try to capture some photos for social media and the throwbacks themselves. A couple non-throwbacks. We got AJ Allmendinger here and Noah Gregson, the Black Rifle Coffee and Bass Pro Shops, of course. And actually, let's hand this off to Mr. Michael Massey, wherever he may be.
We've lost him.
I think we've lost him.
We've lost Massey.
Let's run through the last few. Let's swap back and forth here. Let's take all guys first.
I think we've lost Massey. I see him though. He's back there. He's among us. Don't worry. But now we're going to move on to my 3 favorites of the field, and coincidentally, they're also the top 3 in the field. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll move it on here. But how about Justin Allgaier's Wrangler throwback, the second Wrangler throwback in the field? But again, you know my motto. If they change the number font, it's a good throwback. And that's all you need.
Well, I can't say they changed the number for this one, but this one's one of my favorites. It's kind of similar to what they did last year. We've got the 8 of Josh Berry, the Tire Pros car. They took Dale Jr.'s Looney Tunes car, kind of like they did last year with the 2001 Daytona win car. They subbed out the designs, they subbed out the baseball players, and instead we've got the Tire Pros, the cartoon version of Josh Berry. We've got an anthropomorphic tire on the hood, and we've got a cartoon pit member on the other side. That's just probably my favorite of the entire show.
But then we come to the guy starting first, the guy that's been making all the waves in the Xfinity Series. Ty Gibbs, his throwback to the scheme. They got Joe Gibbs Racing, its first championship. It's Bobby Labonte throwback for the Interstate batteries. I love it. I love it so much more than the regular Interstate batteries. I love that black on the sides, just the rigid edge there. Man, that thing looks good. What a beautiful car to start on the pole for the Xfinity race today. We've got the race coming up. We're gonna head on upstairs and check back after the race for some great coverage from Frontstretch.com.